Good morning, happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. And look, this was probably one of the hardest series that the Yankees had on the going in to deal with, because you have these games, and Donald's going to be joining me momentarily while on the road, actually. Let's get him in. And what's going on, Donald?
What's going on?
I was about to say, this is this should not have been the harder of the series that the Yankees have had to go through this quote unquote gauntlet. And it's almost like I wanted, look, we just lost Donald. But it's almost like, will the real Yankees please stand up? Because they're really looking like they're fighting their way, they're coming into their own as you go into these final stretches of games. And then they put up the first two games. Yesterday was, obviously we were happy to avoid a sweep from the Tigers, and I don't want to dismiss the Tigers and say they're an easy team. Spencer, I get, the Yankees they're not a joke. They were a playoff team last year. They're going to be a playoff team this year, but at the same time, it was the lack of effort in the first two games and just the implosion of the pitching does leave concern of what's going to happen once we get to the playoffs and we really have to face top line pitching, because the Yankees avoided Scrubble. Right? If Scrubble's pitching this series in any of these games, if he was pitching yesterday, it could have easily have been a sweep. I firmly believe that Scrubble is a phenomenal pitcher. He's a Cy Young candidate along with Crochet, who we're going to have to face in the Boston series. So it's really the Yankees have to really define themselves and say, are we just a team that's going to be good enough to make the playoffs, or are we going to come out as a team that is good enough to win it all? And unfortunately, right now, it's looking at just a team that's going to make the playoffs. And unfortunately, the front office is happy with that, and the fans are not. And that's it's a sad reality that this is what it has come to, that they're really the lack of urgency from the players, from the manager, the front office. It's really depressing that this is what we have to be subjected to. But and I want to highlight, what we were able to see from Schlittler, because we had a segment in the beginning of the season of who we thought was going to be the prospect to watch. When we had a monthly award segment, and next year we're going to try to be a little more diligent with that. I promise you, because it really engaged in more conversation, which is really what we enjoy. We enjoy engaging in conversation with everybody, whether you agree with us or not, and that's what makes everything a lot easier to deal with, understand, see where everybody else is coming from. But Cam Schlittler, I'm going to bring Donald back up. Cam Schlittler is one of these guys that we were very high on at the beginning of the season in spring training, and wondering if there was going to be a road for him.
Hello, how's it going?
We're going. See, you're all dressed in blue. But Donald, look, Cam Schlittler has been kind of, and we lost him again. All right, so we're having some technical difficulties on Donald's end. We do apologize for that. Obviously, he is trying to still do the show while he's on his way home from work. But Cam Schlittler has been one of these guys where you knew he had the stuff. It was just going to be a matter of, was there a road for him to get involved in the season? And we're seeing he's been extremely effective. And I really, he was my prospect to watch. I knew there was something about him where you knew he was going to come up. You knew he was going to have an effect on a positive road as we went through the season. So The fact that with him on the mound, his previous game was not his best. It was not. He let the emotions get the best of him, and everything unraveled. So I thought that the fact that he was able to put out the outing that he was yesterday just shows that he has the mental fortitude to really survive an MLB season. And I think that's something that the Yankees and the coaches need to really take a hold of and embrace that, and let that be a lesson to everybody else that's trying to come up through these leagues. We've seen a couple of young guys across town in the Queens. Their young guys are coming up and kind of holding down the fort, waiting for their team to get things together, because there's not been a good stretch of games for New York baseball at all. Even though we focus more on the Yankees, we'd be negligent to say that we don't pay attention to what's going on around everybody else, especially as you get this close to the final stretch of the year. What I want to do real quick is just go through some of these comments here, because there are a lot of people hanging out in chat already. And do want to thank everybody that is here with us early this Friday morning, and just say, good morning to all of you. Anybody watching on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, or listening on Sportswire Radio, good morning, and thank you for tuning in. If you want to join the community, all you got to do is just hit that sub button, hit that like button, and if you really enjoy our content, just hit that boost button on YouTube that they have now, and hype us up. Hit that hype button. So let's go all the way back, and even though this, we were talking about Schlittler, let's not also forget what Judge has been doing. As he's working his way back from it, there's still a level of an injury. He's got some restrictions, but he's still able to swing the bat, and that's a big thing. If Judge can't swing the bat, the Yankees are done. So let us not forget, Judge should be +1 on the home run count that was stolen in that Tampa game. And oh my God, I remember that game. We were fuming that next show. We were so pissed that they screwed up so badly. I'm going to say good morning, Jonathan. Good morning, John the Beagle Dad. Spencer, hope everybody's having a good Friday. I hope you're having a good Friday. Looking forward to some Friday Yankees talk. We're going to give it to you the best way we can. You got Healing Men's Hearts. Just imagine if they pitched Screwball. I brought that up. Would have been a high chance of a perfect game against the Yanks. I mean, the bats were a little more awake yesterday than they had been, even though it's not like they were facing, their top rotation guys. I think they threw a bullpen game yesterday. So there's just a lot, busy at work last night, a lot going on. I wasn't able to really, dial in, even though I always have the game playing on the radio while I'm running around. So it's. We are lucky that we did miss Screwball. That's true. And Dev, what's going on? Dev, what's going on? Hope you are well. Then we got Frank Rivera, not buying Volpe's injury, torn labrum. Don't cause you to make all the stupid plays he has made. Just keep insulting us. We're gonna get to that. I'm postponing that discussion really until we were able to get Donald in, because he's such a big supporter of Volpe, as we all know. But I think that it's definitely something that's got to come into conversation. And what is Spencer telling us here? Jack Curry interviews Kim. I'm going to screw that last name up, so we're going to say Kim interviews Kim, coach from Northeastern, on the podcast Yankees News and Views. Okay. Okay. So Northeastern head baseball coach is Mike Glavine, brother of Hall of Famer Tom Glavine. Tom Glavine was a great freaking pitcher. What is Sunil saying? Yeah, Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. Need the 12-ounce pinstriped ale beer cans as merch. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but okay. Look, let's get into this whole thing with Judge, right? And it's really a shame of what the Yankees have been able to, how the Yankees have kind of put a stain on his accolades with the lack of a championship run. And they were in the World Series last year, but they have to win a World Series for this guy. We cannot allow in the wild card era have Judge be one of the most memorable Yankees, like we look at, with Don Mattingly. And if he played in the Mattingly played in the wild card era, they would have been a championship team. But unfortunately, that's just the era of the game of the time they were playing. It is what it is. They cannot allow in this atmosphere for Judge not to have a ring. That is unacceptable. If he has to retire and he doesn't have a ring on his finger with a championship, then the organization has really completely lost its aura. Okay, I got you, Sunil. It's that they have to really, and let's not forget Garrett Cole. Even though he's missing this year, he kind of gets forgotten in the conversation a little bit. But you have these two studs going through their career, in the prime of their career. You need to do the right thing by these guys. And boom, as much as we get on him, and rightfully so, at least he made, and they're using the injury as an excuse, I believe. Is he hurt? Possibly. Could be, I don't want to just say he's faking it. But the fact that, they've had Caballero in the games that we've been begging for, and you saw the results immediately. He had a great game yesterday. 2 stolen bases. The defense is stepped up. So you're seeing all the positives that have been able to go on when you make the right decisions as a manager and put the book away. Because we were saying, screw, I don't care about anybody's feelings. I care about the championship. And if it's going to be that situation where, Volpe's going to look all pouty in the dugout as Caballero's just tearing it up in his spot, play better. Should the Yankees put him in the minor leagues? That's been a debate going on for a little while now. I think they should have. I think that in their mind, the window to do that has been closed. So it's one of those. You don't want to see anybody fail. You always want to try to boost them up. So when Volpe does have those rare games where he's on it, you want to be excited. It's just a shame that in the back of your mind, you're going, all right, he's playing well now, but what's going to happen next inning? That's not healthy. That's not a championship mentality that the players, the coaches, or the fans should have. And unfortunately, the organization and Boone have tried gaslighting us that he's can't miss shortstop. That's not the case. He's definitely a can't miss. He can't, that's all he does. I'm sorry. It's all he does is miss. He's not an effective ball player. Every tool, like I said, it's like everybody comes to, everybody's shopping, coming to work with Craftsman tools, and he's got a Fisher Price kit because every tool in his arsenal has diminished greatly because, he's just not, he hasn't been able to really hone on what he's able to do. And a stretch here and there during the season is not sufficient. It's not going to help. If like McMahon, which is, who took over for third, he's not having a great year, great stretch with the Yankees with his bat, but his glove is elite enough where you're like, all right, at least he's helping us in some aspect. Volpe's not. And if he is hurt, and they have been hiding this whole time, it's Anthony Rizzo all over again. Where they're trying to say, nothing to see here, everything is fine. And they're letting this kid's value just diminish. They're letting him absorb all the vitriol from the press and the fans. And not saying a word. Sunil, exactly. Unfortunately, I think we're in the same mindset right now. But, it is the Rizzo concussion all over again, and it's really unfortunate. Egyptian magician, what is going on? Good morning to you, my friend. And Healing Men's Hearts, going back to what I was saying with Judge and Cole, it's similar. Well, more Judge. Cole's got his. It's similar to Peyton Manning never winning a Super Bowl until he did. That's Aaron Judge right now. That's true. It really is. Jason Custodio, and I agree with him on this one. I'm sorry, but I don't think his poor performance is due to the injury. I don't. I just think he's really he's once the league figured him out, he's not that good a ball player. And we always say that in sports, it's always a game of adjustments. The pitcher has to adjust to every round of the lineup. He's got to make the adjustments where they got to figure the batter out. The batter's going through trying to figure, he's trying to work the pitcher and see what's working for him and work the pitcher out. And year by year, you make the adjustments. You change your batting stance. As a pitcher, you may change your mechanics. And as the league starts to figure you out, you have to have the ability and the talent to make those adjustments. Volpe does not have that ability. It's not that he's not talented. He made the major leagues for a reason. And it's not just because he's the coach's son. We had said that first show of the season 3 years ago. Volpe deserved, we commended the Yankees for not manipulating the service time and giving him his shot. He had a good spring. Peraza was just a little step better, but it is what it is. They had to pick one of the two. If they had picked Peraza and Volpe, got yanktified, we could possibly be saying, they never gave Volpe a fair shot. So it was just unfortunate that, in that spring, we saw, look at it this way, we saw what happened with Volpe in the beginning of that year, in that spring training when he got called up. We saw the talents that he had when he had competition. What you're seeing now, he has no competition. So why, he doesn't have to put the full effort in. Well, now he does. Now he's got Caballero breathing down his neck. It's sometimes having that competition, right, breathing down your neck will bring out the best in you. So Volpe just unfortunately has not been able to have that because there was no risk of losing his job. Well, he's now he has that risk since the trade deadline, and where we should have seen him kind of clean it up a little bit, he just continued to regress a little, and it's unfortunate. Want to get to a couple more of these comments. Let's go back to Healing Men's Hearts. It seems to be an organizational issue. Cashman and Boone gaslighting us, how they talk to the media, Hal Steinbrenner not seeming to care, not to be present, and the training staff negligence. And yeah, I do think it's a negligence from top to bottom. Like I said, they have let this guy just sink, and they offered him no help. He had no rest. There was nobody to, they always kept saying, and I brought this up, last week in last couple of shows. There was nobody, and I said, alluding to that moments ago, there was no competition. There was nobody to push him to really improve on his ability. So it's, if there's nobody to worry about, and there's nothing to worry about. All right, I really keep dropping these comments. Let me know what you guys think. I would feel empty for a great talent like Aaron Judge, as Spencer's saying, to not win a title in his career. Hoping it happens. I think it ultimately will. I do too. I think he's going to end up with one, and he should. But at the same time, we got to we got to endure some of this bad baseball and underperforming results at the end of the season. Yeah, they made the World Series last year. Everybody was happy, and I think that they came in this year with a stronger team. And it's still the same old lackluster results because they still had the same issues in the summer like they do every year. And it unfortunately, the word is unfortunate because as fans, we're showing up. We're doing what we have to do to fill the stands, to watch the games. We buy the merch, right? We come on here, multiple times a week, and we talk about this team that we love so much. And it just seems like they take, it's almost like they take us for granted. Like, God, they'll be back next year, and they'll root us on all over again. So it doesn't matter. It does. Because it's not just us. We're already locked in. What are they doing as far as the competitive nature to bring in the next generation? What are we supposed to force our young family members to be subjected to the team that we want them to? That's not fair. My youngest son, both my boys, they love going to the games with me. I love going to games with them. And they were never big baseball fans. But they love the environment of going to Yankee Stadium, hanging out with me and my friends, and just really embracing it. And I had always said I couldn't care if they were a Red Sox fan. I always just wanted my boys to be baseball fans, so there was some relatable conversation we can have aside from, did you do your homework? That bond over baseball like I had with my father. And playing Little League and, having a catch in the backyard, just having, simple conversation, throwing a ball around. It's, the next generation is where the Yankees need to start focusing. And it just seems like it's business as usual for them. As long as the playoff check comes in, that there's no real need for improvement. And it's, it's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not how you build generation after generation after generation. And be a second to let the dog out, and I will get into why I'm bringing up the generational thing. One moment. All right. So, apologize for that. The life of a pet owner. No, it's the reason I bring up with the generational thing is also to bring it back to us more of a positive thing with Judge. We saw he had reached Yogi Berra and everybody was celebrating. And we actually had this question at the end of the show on Wednesday when we had Donald and Rob with us. This is one of those things that it's like, all right, we want to celebrate all the accolades and accomplishments of a player. And, Donald's reaction and part of his argument of why he wasn't all hyped up about passing Yogi Berra is he wants that championship and that drive and his passion and admiration for this team that's had so many titles. He wants to see that as well. And it's it went against a little bit of what Rob and I wanted, but it really didn't differ in many ways. And when you see Judge pass a guy like, or now that he's tied with Joe DiMaggio at 361, I mean, you have to be in awe of what Aaron Judge has been able to do and wonder where it could have been by at this point had it not been for the injuries, had it not been for the COVID year where they only played half a season. They only played 60 games that year. So you have to wonder how many more he would have had by now. Would he be in the 400 mark? And it just shows that we have a talent, and it's part of the frustration because we have this tremendous talent on our team. We also talk about generational players. Judge is a generational player. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether you're a hater and you want to call him a stat patter, well, you do you. But I'm looking at it. You see, of all the Yankees that have played, you can see who's the guy that's on my wall. I love watching Aaron Judge. I love what he's been able to accomplish. And the fact that, we see a guy who's tied with Joe DiMaggio, you have to wonder where it could have been if he had been healthy and if it wasn't for the 2020 season where you only had a handful of games, in baseball terms. But it looks like Donald is home. So I'm going to bring Donald in and get him into this conversation. Donald, it's looking good. Look at that Giants hat. That's sharp.
Thank you.
How you doing, bro?
The president needs to visit more often. That was probably the best that we've played all year. The president needs to visit more often.
I was trying to, one thing that we've hung our hat on is that we've been able to stay strictly sports. So I didn't bring that part of it up. But I was just getting into the whole thing, talking about how the Yankees need to not only make sure that they, provide the fans what they need, but also show the next generation that they're going to be that force of nature like we came up with, and Judge, being able to tie DiMaggio in the home run record. And I kind of brought up in the contrast what we were talking about with Rob at the end of the show on Wednesday when we were talking about passing the Yogi Berra era. Yeah. So has your feeling towards him now climbing a little, now that he's really in the weeds with some of the most legendary players of the game, not only just Yankees. How you feeling now that he's now in the DiMaggio conversation?
I mean, I'm happy for him, and it's cool as all hell, man. We're talking about history. We're talking about history. So no matter how you view his style of leadership, or you view this current team, or you view anything, we are witnessing history. We are witnessing history in living form. And he's wearing the number 99 uniform. So, I mean, you can't take that away from him. We are witnessing history. We're talking about tied with the Joe DiMaggio for home runs. He's another hero of mine, Joe D. So, yep. It is an absolute accomplishment. So, what can you say? I think maybe you guys had some really good points in that last podcast that maybe you can separate it. You can still want more, but maybe not dismiss what you're seeing. And there's no doubt that the occasion yesterday, Aaron Judge stepped up. It's kind of crazy. Like the whole 9/11 thing, president shaking his hand and saying, "You're awesome, you're amazing," and all that stuff. And then what? The next two at bats, bang, bang into the bullpen. He laid siege to that Tiger bullpen. He laid siege to it. Not just literally, but figuratively. He laid siege to that bullpen. He kept peppering their bullpen with home runs, and he was destroying their actual bullpen itself. So, he played great. So he stepped up with a big occasion, and that's kind of what we've been asking for him to do. He hasn't really done that enough, and I still think that yesterday was definitely an occasion, and he lived up to it, and he made it special. So salute to him. I think that was pretty cool that he led the way yesterday. I thought he really did lead the Yankees yesterday. Question is, can he lead this team through a playoff run? I've not seen that yet, so yeah, that's separate. But you guys had a good point, so I'm going to try not to dismiss it.
Exactly.
The thing is, it's not that I'm a hater. Literally, I've got his number 62 like freaking bobblehead right here. I was there for a lot of those games when he hit the 62 homers, and I never thought I would even just be slightly diminished by it. But the year's sense of maybe the Yankees underachieving and him underachieving in the playoffs, and and sometimes his attitude where he says things like, "Oh, a win's a win, a loss is a loss," kind of a stuff. That kind of stuff really does irritate me, and I think he's been overly protective of Aaron Boone and certain players that underperform around him. I think he needs to be tougher. So maybe that does kind of affect things, but as a pure player, wow. Do you know what I'm saying? Wow. That's all I can really say. What he did yesterday is just purely wow. That was a wow game. So he stepped up to the occasion. How can you say otherwise?
Yeah, it's kind of it's upsetting to me that even despite a win like that yesterday, when you look at the first two games, it's not much to hang a hat on to be excited about.
Mm.
There are some nerves going into this Boston series, especially with facing their better pitching. We got the heart of their rotation. We got to go against Bello and Crochet again. And it's Crochet just has our number. There's nothing we can do about it. You're not going to light him up. Before you get, and he's pitching the final game of the series. So it just puts more emphasis on the first two tonight and tomorrow.
Well, there's a lot to be excited about. I mean, this is literally a playoff chase right now, man. Every single game matters. There's no game that we can afford to take off over the next 17. Every single game matters.
But
to make the wild card, heck, the division's still in play. So there is stuff to be excited about. I think. I don't know about you.
No, I don't know. Maybe feeling confident is more of a better word to use than lack of excitement. Because it is.
Right.
I always get hyped up for Boston, but we're 2-8 against Boston this year. That's a problem. It's so lopsided. It's not even laughable. And that's why it's like I had said earlier, I just wish the real Yankees would show up, because we've seen them been able to dominate. They were able to take care of Toronto and and the Astros, which are top teams, and handle their business. And then we've seen them also, roll over and kind of take themselves out of games, especially against the rest of the division. I don't know. I haven't looked up the numbers, but I'd be curious of the playoff teams right now what their division records are comparable to the Yankees. And I have a feeling the Yankees are going to be at the bottom of the list as far as division records, because they really have not risen to the occasion when they needed to. They'll avoid the sweep. All right. But you'll see kind of those lineups where when you're going for a sweep, Boone just kind of takes his foot off the gas a little bit. And put these lineups out that has us shaking our heads. Like yesterday was a lineup that you look at and you got
Austin Slater leading off.
Thank you. I had another Austin in my head. I knew it was not Wells, but somebody else. Like, okay, that's a weird lineup. Like, where did that come from? But they're still in the game, so you don't even remember the lineup.
I didn't hate it, mostly because Volpe isn't playing, so that was good.
Well, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I'm going to sit back and have a little coffee before it gets too much colder. And give us your thoughts on this whole issue with Volpe.
Let's do that. Let's talk a little bit about Anthony Volpe.
I had already given my take, but I want them to hear yours.
So it's two-pronged. We know that the Yankee medical staff completely ruins players. They've been doing this for their jobs. It's their jobs basically to ruin careers. They ruined Anthony Rizzo's career. Rizzo got absolutely smacked in the head, and they said, "Oh, you're fine. Fucking just brush it off. It's just a flesh wound." You know what I mean? That's just a flesh wound. Get out there. It was crazy. Dude had a concussion, a serious concussion. Clint Frazier, serious concussion. They're like, go and take some Tylenol. You'll be fine tomorrow. I mean, honestly, these guys have been doing this forever. They have been ruining careers forever. So don't get me wrong. What the Yankees have done with Anthony Volpe is malfeasance. There you go, Sunil. There you go, my guy. It is malfeasance. But, I mean, it's true. I mean, you run through it. Clint Frazier, take a Tylenol. You're fine. You know? Freaking Anthony Rizzo, just rub some Robitussin on it. You'll be fine. I mean, honestly, it's just the same story, bro. Mark Leiter Jr., broken leg. Aaron Boone was playing him for about a couple of weeks with a broken leg. Oh, just freaking get out there, man. Just shake it off. Shake off that broken leg and keep pitching. The Yankees have been doing this forever. The medical staff are a bunch of buffoons. They do this almost as a career, man. They've mishandled Judge's injuries in the past. They've mishandled Stanton's injuries in the past. They've rushed Stanton back. They do this all the freaking time. They rushed Weaver back, and now Weaver's never been the same this year.
Yep.
Johnny Lasagna can never stay healthy. He pitches about 8 pitches, and he's gone for the year. This happens all the time with Lasagna. I think the Yankees have mishandled him. They extended Severino without even doing an MRI on his arm, and it turned out that he needed surgery, but they didn't even bother checking. This is what the Yankees do. They are completely and totally incompetent. Read my words. Read my lips. Incompetent. So, he's got a torn labrum in his shoulder. He has no business playing. None. The Yankees are like, you'll be fine. Rub some Robitussin on it, you'll be fine. You'll be fine tomorrow. His arm literally popped, and he went to the Yankee front office and said, my shoulder popped doing that dive. It's really sore. You'll be fine tomorrow. I don't see any problems. Yankee medical staff is like, you're fine. That's what the Yankee medical staff is. So don't get me wrong. The Yankee medical staff are a bunch of buffoons, right? It needs the front office and the medical staff needs to be completely torn up. They are so incompetent. Brian Cashman has still not been able to find a competent medical staff because don't forget, he once got a country club medical staff in charge, and then and this was, I think this was prior to this one, and everybody got hamstring injuries. Everybody after spring training, everybody. I can't remember what year it was, but it was crazy. So this is what the Yankees do, man. They don't know how to hire medical.
2 years ago, we kept saying every day there was a laundry list of IL.
Crazy. So there you go. So this is what the Yankees do. So it doesn't surprise me that they mishandled another injury. They've been doing this for fun. They almost, I don't know even if they do it for kicks because it's just crazy at this point. I can't come across the time where the Yankees have actually handled the medical injury right. They seem to always screw it up. However, as I said, it's two-pronged. 100% they mishandled this, right? But it's two-pronged. There is definitely a narrative now to try and say, oh, he's injured. He's injured. That's what the problem is. It's injured. He's injured. That's a very small percentage of the problem. Anthony Volpe is a broken player with or without a torn labrum. He is a broken player. With or without needing surgery, he is a broken player. Because look at his OPS as a career. It's in line with his OPS now. He's not that much different as a hitter. He's only marginally worse. He's the same type of hitter. He's a bad hitter. He's a massively below average hitter with or without the torn labrum. So don't completely allow the Yankees and the and the Yankee apologists out there on X to tell you that that's what the problem is. Oh, he's injured. You'll be fine. Once it's fixed, he'll be amazing. He'll be an all-star. Blah blah. Nonsense. He is a broken player with or without the surgery. Here's the reality, guys. Right? What has really changed with Anthony Volpe? What has really changed regarding Anthony Volpe post-injury? Post his shoulder popping, what's really changed? He still hits for a low average, so that's not changed. And he has zero arm. That was the same before the injury. It's only just, it's gotten worse, of course, but it's still a terrible arm. So it's not like we're talking about what the situation that Rizzo went through where he was batting over 300 and he was giving you amazing defense at first base. Then he got his block knocked off him, and then he couldn't play defense and he couldn't hit. And then he was batting like 0-50 after that. Then, yeah, absolutely. But in Volpe's case, he's still a broken player, with or without the injury. So the only thing that's actually changed for me regarding Volpe post-injury is his footwork. His footwork is so much worse now. But I think that's probably because he's compensating for his terrible arm plus his injured arm. His footwork's awful. But in regards to his approach at the plate, it's still awful. It was awful before. Nothing is changing. He's still a broken player, so I don't want the Yankees to use that as an excuse, which they are desperate to do. Because why have they suddenly magically mentioned it now? Why have they suddenly magically mentioned it now? Oh, he magically has a torn labrum if he's had it for months. And the Yankees mentioned now? Do you not think that if you read the tea leaves and you put the puzzle pieces together, it might be because he gets booed every single time by the fans, and the Yankees have run out of excuses because they can't keep saying it's around the corner because they know that around the corner is not going to come. So that's why I'm saying it's two-pronged. Mm-hmm. The Yankees are like, oh, fantastic. This is a convenient excuse. Just say it's a torn labrum, and then I can get away with it now. So that means in the offseason, Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone could be like, oh, well, he had a torn labrum. Well, what do you expect? He did great, considering he'll be right back to who he was next year. We don't have to do anything. And you guys are wrong. Yeah. That's what they're going to do. You can see it. I can predict it. It's in the bag because we know this now because we were saying this. I was saying this a couple days ago. I was like, they have no leg to stand on him anymore. They've got no pulpit to stand on and say Anthony Volpe is the elite, he's the best, he's incredible, and you guys are all idiots and morons. They can't say that anymore. They've run out of excuses. So what's the next excuse? Oh, he's injured. Oh, come out and save the day.
It was almost like the injury thing is a gift from God for the Yankees.
It's a gift from God. Well, I mean, yeah, him re-aggravating injury, I don't doubt that he re-aggravated it. But what I'm saying is he's not that much of a different player than he was before. He's still a bad hitter. He's just a worse hitter. But it still means he's a bad hitter. He's just a worse hitter. Right? Yeah. So, that's it, right? So it was a 240s. No one really cares about batting average anymore. But now he's like 203. But that's true. I'm not dismissing that. Something's clearly wrong. But he's still a bad hitter. He was a bad hitter before. He's just a worse hitter. He's got an awful arm before. It's just even worse than it was now. So sure, I'm not saying the injury hasn't played a part in him dropping off the planet and now looking like the worst player. But let's face it, if you look at the statistics, he's the worst player in baseball over the past calendar year. That precedes the injury. So what I'm saying is, you could still say, oh man, it really sucks that he got hurt. And I'm sure he'll be a slightly better player post-injury.
Not much improved.
Not much different. He's still the same player. He's still a bad player. He's still got bad technique. He's still got bad footwork. He's still got an awful arm. And he's still got an awful approach to the plate. And his hips keep flying open. His hip flying open has nothing to do with a torn shoulder. May I repeat that? His hip flying open has nothing to do with his torn shoulder. I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, no, and look, if he's hurt, it does suck. But that's why you'll see in the title where it says Volpe injured with a question mark. It's more of why are we only finding out now? This is something that happened 2 months ago.
Right.
It's just it's like the Stanton injury all over again. They knew he was hurt and they just let it go until spring training, where he could have been. He had a whole offseason to get a jump start. So all they're doing with these injuries and the way they handle it is just putting the team further behind the 8 ball. And they're saying they're not going to put him on the IL. Why? What? Because it's almost the end of the season. Put him on a freaking IL. So you're going to go through when you're in the you were in grasp of the division. The playoff chase, for the wild card is still alive and strong. Nothing's locked in yet. You look at the standings. Nobody secured their spot. Because on MLB they have those little letters, whatever. When you've locked up your spot. Nothing in that like that has happened yet. So why would you not put him on the IL? Because what, now you're going to play with a 25-man roster? Well, everybody else has a 26? You're going to play one man down?
Dude, we've been playing one man down.
That's now the part of it that's really starting to bother me.
To be honest, Tats, we've been playing a man down with him in the starting lineup, so it doesn't really make any difference if you're a man down with him on the bench. As long as Caballero plays every day, then I don't care. How good did he look yesterday? And that's what I'm talking about, man. Caballero is a much better player than Anthony Volpe, with or without Volpe's torn shoulder. He's a much better player. Now, you can look at the OPS and say, oh, no, he doesn't hit any home runs. Who gives a flying fuck? We've got 8 other guys that hit home runs, right? I'm just looking for somebody that can get on base. I'm looking for somebody that can steal bases by the truckload. I'm looking for somebody that plays incredible defense. That's everything that Caballero provides. He provides speed that's ridiculous. He's like Usain Bolt on the base pass. Once he gets on base, it's a stolen base. That's pretty cool, right? It's basically a certainty. And with his hitting profile, you know that he's capable of laying down bunts and getting to first, slap hits in the gaps. That's the kind of stuff he does. That's why I love that player. That's an old school player that a lot of the new school people that only look at OPS and go, oh, he's only got a 640, 650 OPS. He's not that good. That it's not. You need to open your eyes and you need to see what he brings. A lot of intangibles, and that's the kind of stuff that wins you championships. Intangibles. That's the stuff that the Yankees analytics team overlooks. But I've finally brought someone back that provides intangibles. There's not really a statistic for intangibles, but we're talking about somebody that, when he's up at the plate, is able to find the gaps, little singles in the gaps, and someone that that once he's got that base hit, that single, he's stealing, and it's going to happen. He's going to steal. That's exciting. So it's guaranteed he's going to be in scoring position. So that's the kind of player you want. With Anthony Volpe, instead, 99 times out of 100, he strikes out or pops up and does absolutely fuck all. There's a 0.1% chance that he does something. But, I mean, you can't live like that. And you also don't know if he's going to steal a base because he gets himself thrown out in the base paths quite often. And then you can also guarantee that if he's playing shortstop, that ball coming to him, it's a hold your breath moment at the best of times with him. So I'm sorry, Caballero is a much better player, and I don't need any OPS statistician to tell me otherwise. He is a much better player than Anthony Volpe. He's my shortstop.
No, Caballero has been absolutely unconscious. Yeah, he's been what we've been waiting to see from the shortstop position. Absolutely. And it's an easy adjustment to just slot him in. But the issue, that's why I'm going to go back to it again. The issue that I'm having is just the negligence of the way that they handled their injuries. And that's why it's like, okay, why now? Why couldn't you say this 2 months ago, or when he first got hurt, just put him on the IL? It's I don't.
Well, I want to see Ahmad Rosario play some shortstop as well as Caballero. I don't need to see Volpe for a while, like a good while. Preferably never again, but certainly not for the next couple of games. Like, if you want to beat the Red Sox, you don't want Volpe to be playing.
No.
Do you want to, if you're pressed for time, Tats, do you want to run through the awards briefly for the series?
Yeah, let's take a stab at that.
Let's take a stab at that. How much time have you got?
The one thing I do, what I would like to do, because it'll be my sign off, because I have a tight schedule today. The My Boy Award, that'll be last. My Boy.
Right. Okay. All right. So who's your MVP for the series?
Caballero. I think that look, we've been wanting him on to be more involved with this team. It could have easily been judged because of the home runs. But I think there's such a stark difference and improvement when he's on the field and in the lineup. I think we have to give it to. I want to give it to him this one time.
My MVP is going to be Aaron Judge. Actually, he stepped up to the occasion. It was an awful series up until yesterday, and then we ended up playing one of the best games of the year. And Judge led the way. He was this. I'll always be honest. I need to see more of him as a leader, and he showed himself to be a leader yesterday. Need to see more of it, but yesterday he led the way. He represented the Yankees with pride, and it's a very difficult day for New Yorkers and Americans in general. And you want your leader, your captain, to represent the Yankees well, and I thought he did great. So, and he hit those 2 home runs, and so he gets my MVP. Low key MVP, Uncle Tess.
Stanton.
Okay.
Yep. You said it before, and it's true. He may not have the C on his chest, but he carries this team. He's so underappreciated. What he brings to this team is just the guts, the determination to always always play his best. He's so easy to root for.
Amen to that. My low key, I'm giving it to Cody Bellinger. Consistently driving in runs like all series long. So he is my low key. Clutch awards. T.
That's what I'm going with. I'm going with Judge. Is to not mention Judge at all is, shall we say, malfeasance.
Yeah.
Right. You passed Yogi. You didn't even let time for everybody to really kind of revel in it. You're like, all right, who's next on the list? Let me just keep going. And when you tie a guy like DiMaggio, it's unbelievable. These are names that are just, like I said, not just legends in the game, but they're revered in history books of what they were able to do. To be in that company is, you're a special type of player.
My clutch award, I'm going to give it to Cam Schlittler because it was incredibly clutch, considering the Yankees have been getting their doors blown off them for the last 2 games to a record extent. Actually, historically bad first 2 games. And for our young Cam Schlittler to come in and shut him down over 6 innings is really says a lot about this kid. Like he's an exciting player. He's an exciting prospect. He's an exciting pitcher. You can make the argument he's our third best pitcher at the rotation. I don't think there's too much doubt about that right now. So yeah, I think he was as clutch as it gets. So he gets my clutch award. Yep. Let's go with the pitching awards. Well, I guess that's pretty simple.
This is where I have Schlittler. I gave him his credit before earlier in the show. After his previous outing, to come out and just kind of, put the brakes on the pitching is kind of imploding. And it was more the bullpen, that just really just laid an egg. But I thought that this was a very important outing for Schlittler to show that bounce back game, and he gave us that.
Sure did. Let's go with Aaron Boone out of 10.
I'm gonna go with a 5. I don't want to give him much higher than that. Actually, I can't even really. I can't go that high.
No, that's very high.
You know what? I'm not giving him a score this week. This year,
0.
I'll give him a 1 for putting Caballero in. But then he loses the point because he uses an excuse as the injury as a reason. It wasn't like it was game planned for strategy. So no, I'm giving him a 0.
I mean, he completely mishandled the bullpen. Completely mismanaged the bullpen.
A complete 0.
Yeah, he mismanaged the bullpen in game 1. Do you guys know that it's the first time in Yankee history, other than 1908 and like 1988,
that back-to-back losses. Yeah,
that the Yankees have had back-to-back double-digit losses, back-to-back.
Congratulations, Boone.
Yeah, good job, man. Good history maker. He completely mishandled the bullpen, completely mismanaged it, completely misread it, and it turns out that he's been playing Anthony Volpe every single day without a day off. 500 plus at bats with a torn shoulder. I mean, you're an idiot. You are Lord of the idiots. Aaron Boone gets a 0, man. He gets an absolute 0. An absolute 0 of a manager. I can't impress this enough. The reason why the Yankees don't win world championships, most of it is to do with Aaron Boone. Mostly. And it'll be the reason why they don't win the championship this year. Because of Aaron Boone. He's just so fucking bad. He's so bad, it's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, he's a 0. Let's move on to the L. Tats.
The L. I gotta give it to Volpe. Yeah. I know that they're gonna try to say, well, he's hurt. How could you give him the L? He's proven nothing.
No, he was awful. He imploded. He had an awful game.
Yeah.
An awful game. So yeah. Just because he's injured doesn't cover the fact that if you're healthy enough to be on the field, then you have to be graded as such.
If he's that hurt, he'd be on the IL.
And he was garbage. Absolute garbage. So I completely agree with you. Next one, my favorite, you know it, the Aaron Hicks Award. There he is. There's that mofo. Who's your Aaron Hicks?
I'm giving it to the bullpen.
Yep.
With the exception of Yarborough.
He wasn't even that good.
Anybody but Yarborough just kind of did not show up at all. That was a terrible, terrible series for the bullpen. Unexcusable.
I'm probably going to go with Mark Leiter. For me, he was
the biggest culprit.
Really bad. Like, every time that he was on the fucking field this year was an absolute nightmare. Horrible. So I get it, man. Like the whole bullpen, very fair. It's hard to single anybody out because Cruz was really bad too. He couldn't get through a single out. But for me, Mark Leiter gets it because Aaron Boone says, I want to try and get Mark Leiter into the game more. And since he's done that, the Yankees have imploded. So I think it's a two-pronged thing, Aaron Boone and Mark Leiter. So that's my Aaron Hicks, Mark Leiter. Let's go with the final one. Boy Blue! Where is it? I need to get the Boy Blue before Uncle Tat signs off. There he is. You're my boy Blue! You're my boy! Who's your boy Blue, Uncle T?
I have two. All right. And this is going to coincide with where's the yeah, there's on repeat there you go. I'm going with two for my boy Blue, and there are two images as we had to go through the 24th anniversary of 9/11 yesterday. And there are two visions that just remain in my head about that time. And I want to remind everybody what kind of we all went through as humans and Americans. Right? It was tragic what everybody went there. The two images that, as a sports fan, just resonate for me as a baseball fan. Sammy Sosa running on the field with the flag. I think is probably one of the most iconic shots. And also for New York specifically, Mike Piazza's home run when they finally got the games back in New York. I think those are two moments that you have to let yourself go back and revisit to understand why our generation still, when they say never forget, we don't. And it's the sports aspect, that's one of the ways I won't forget. So for those two images, Sosa and Piazza will always have that spot.
And to that point, my boy Blue is actually very similar. It's the first responders, NYPD, FDNY, God bless them. Many sacrificed their lives. Many got cancer due to the asbestos from being in those ruins and trying to dig people out and saving lives. They were as selfless and as amazing as you're ever going to find. Brave, unbelievably brave. So they definitely deserve nothing but gratitude and prayers and to their families as well. So anyone that's involved in the NYPD and the FDNY or anything like that definitely are getting a special shout out. Another people I would like to mention would be the 2001 New York Yankees, because the 2001 New York Yankees, they were at the back end of their dynasty, and they weren't the same team as they were in 98, 99, where they just steamrolled through everybody. They had to battle, but they stepped up for the city and helped galvanize the city, grabbed the city by the scruff of the neck, and went all the way to the World Series. And it was one of the most historic World Series ever, where they just refused to lose. And it just showed the indomitable spirit of New York, and that's what the 2001 New York Yankees were. That's why I'll always hold them in the highest esteem, every single one of them. The Joe Torres, the Derek Jeters, the Bernie Williams, the Paul O'Neills, everybody that went and helped people during that time, not just on the field but off the field, being there during that difficult time. So the 2001 New York Yankees get my nothing but credit, and that's what makes this organization really special. So those two deserve a big shout out. And I'm not being political, but I would say President George W. Bush for throwing out the first pitch and helping there as well. He was there. He helped. He was a big positive influence in trying to rebuild New York after that time, where he was pretty brave. So I think everybody really pitched in, and that was what was great about America, where at that time it wasn't about left or right. It was about the United States that just suffered an incredible travesty of their freedom, and they came together and rebuilt, and now the city is back to where it was. So maybe we can get back to that as a people. That's my final thoughts on that. And rest in peace to everyone that lost their lives.
Yep. And yeah, so but I do have to get going, Donald. I'm gonna leave you the reins of the show.
Oh no, I think we can sign off. I think that was the perfect way. I think that was the perfect way to end.
I know you've had a busy morning, but I didn't want to cut you short either.
It would be hard for me to start ranting about Anthony Volpe and the New York Yankees after talking about 9/11. I don't know if there's any way.
So I think that is the We'll end it with the gracious words. So with that, just make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. It's the Pitch Track Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats with Donald, wishing you all a enjoyable weekend. Hope the Yankees give us some excitement as well with these games with Boston. But with that, we'll be back Monday morning. Make sure you also check out the Upper Deck. Look out for Yanktified over the weekends, as those shows are still in effect. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when these shows are scheduled.
Yeah.
We'll be back with the gang Monday, 10 a.m. to break down the series. So everybody, enjoy your weekend. Wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Let's go.